Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. We are finally at the final Dinomania figure from the most recent unboxing I did of Dinomania figures, and this is kind of a figure that I was waiting until the end to review because it was so absolutely gigantically huge that I knew it was going to be a bit of a problem to review, but we are here at this point now, so we might as well get it done, I guess, and take a look at this incredibly huge Spinosaurus from Dinomania. Again, this figure is definitely going to be one for the record books as far as reviewing it goes because it is huge, and unlike a lot of dinosaur figures like the Super Colossal Mattel figures that I get, I can't really maneuver the limbs around too much to make it a little easier to review, except for those front arms there. We can move those, but we can't move the legs as they're not articulated. So again, it's going to be something here. We're definitely going to have fun trying to get this one reviewed, but overall, this is a really cool looking Spinosaurus figure as far as these kind of soft, squishy feel figures go. The Spinosaurus overall also has a really nice paint job. I love the greenish look on the figure. Absolutely love green on Spinosaurus, so I think this was a really nice choice. I feel like it's a very realistic coloration, thinking that Spinosaurus would be like hiding in, well, not really hiding, but swimming around and waiting on the side of banks and stuff in like marshy areas, potentially looking for fish and stuff like that. I feel like green would be a really good color for that animal to have, so it's something that I feel like is nice and natural here on this Dinomania version. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get a closer look at this right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the Spinosaurus, you can see some really nice detail throughout and actually sort of make out the bone structure of the skull, which is really cool to see, really interesting overall to see. You have some very large scales up here on the top of the animal. Very, very large actually, and they look really quite cool overall, and you can see some really beautiful transitioning going on between that really dark green and then this nice lighter green here on the underside of the Spinosaurus. You can also see that the skin flap there on the inside of the mouth is present and also sports some pretty decent sculpt and detail. You can make out some scales here and there on both the upper and lower jaw of the Spinosaurus. You can also see the teeth are kind of painted with like an off-white, almost like a mixture of white and gray, so it has a bit of a realistic look as far as the teeth go. You can also see the inside of the mouth has a really nice tongue sculpted out in there, has like a purplish type of a color for the most part as far as the color for the inside of the mouth, and a bit of a gloss coat to help it shine. And it's the same thing we see here on the teeth as far as that kind of gloss coat goes. So you do have a gloss on both the teeth and the mouth. The teeth are painted a little bit sloppily, but for the most part I feel like they actually look quite nice on this side. You also have the nostrils sculpted out up here as well. You can see that the eye is that plastic glass eye sort of look, and this one actually has a really nice detailed eye, which is a bit different than quite a few of the other theropods that we've reviewed lately. So that's really nice to see. As we start to move back here into the body, you can see again some more large scaling picking up right up there at the top of the head. And then once we get into the neck, you can see lots of kind of creases and cracks and crevices in the skin of the Spinosaurus in the neck region. You can also see sort of like some skin folding going on down here. Some okay detail on the underside. You have some nice skin folding and everything going on right there as the throat reaches the lower jaw. But right around here, the detail sort of becomes a little bit muted, but at the same time, it still looks pretty decent. And you can also see you have like a reddish coloration there in the throat, actually kind of similar to their Indominus figure we looked at recently. But I think that really looks quite nice as far as that reddish coloration playing off of sort of the yellow and then the light green. It's definitely a very nice appearance overall as far as that neck sculpt goes and the neck coloration. You can see some very large scoot-like scales that run down the back of the neck of the Spinosaurus. You can also see that there is a nice dark wash included with the figure, as always when it comes to the Dinomania line. So you always have that really nice realistic kind of wash that really brings all the detail and all the scales and everything out quite nicely. The only thing I could say as far as the head of the Spinosaurus that's a little iffy for me is the fact that the hook in the jaw is right here, and we know that's not exactly where the hook in the Spinosaurus's jaw would be. It would actually be up here somewhere in this vicinity, and the teeth would continue to run back, but the teeth are only up here and then it stops. There's a hook in the jaw and then there's no teeth back here, which is a little bit strange as far as the overall appearance of the Spinosaurus goes. But maybe we can just take this as like an unknown to science cousin of the Spinosaurus. But as we move down the body, you can see some more kind of osteoderms and stuff picking up, but also some scoot-like scales up here near the sail of the Spinosaurus, which is actually kind of similar to like a Jurassic Park 3 Spinosaurus, and the way that they usually have like scoots up there by the sail of the dinosaur. You can also see lots of really nice detailing here in the stomach region in general, lots of like skin folding and everything going on, a lot of movement being shown right in this vicinity as far as the skin texture goes. Again, some more osteoderms and some more scoots that continue to run down the entire length of that back right there. If we get up here into the sail, which is going to be pretty complicated to do, you can see that the sail here has like a orangish brown, and then it transitions to a yellow up here at the tip of the sail. The actual detailing within the sail is pretty decent. It's nothing over the top or crazy, but it definitely serves its purpose and looks about as good as it needs to. The sail, once again, just like the previous Spinosaurus we looked at, is very thick because, again, these figures are that very soft, squishy material, so you're going to fill them up with sort of stuffing, I guess you could say, and you're going to need somewhere to put that, and that's up in the sail. The arms of the Spinosaurus are also quite nicely done. You can see, again, that they are articulated. I did mention that earlier. You can also see some nice detail as we lead down the arms, some kind of cracks and crevices in the skin texture, some nice muscle tone, pretty decently displayed there. As we move down into the hand of the Spinosaurus, the hand looks pretty nice. The nails aren't really painted any specific way. It seems like they've actually dry brushed kind of that green over top, but you can see the hand does transition to a black for a little brief period of time there, but it's sort of like green on this finger, black, green. It's a mixture of all those colors, I guess, but it's a nicely sculpted hand. As we move into the thigh, you can see some nice detailing, and again, that nice dark wash has brought all that detail out quite beautifully. As we move down into the legs, again, this is pretty complicated to actually review at times. If we move down into the legs, you can see that the feet of the Spinosaurus are kind of scrunched, so it sort of appears as though like the Spinosaurus is crouching down, maybe on the side of a riverbank or something, looking for fish, and that's one of the reasons why I like to display this guy kind of on all fours. I think it looks nice considering the positioning of the feet, but the feet look pretty decent, and the nails are actually painted a blackish coloration, so that is a plus, and I do apologize that we can't really get a very good look at them with like the light shining on them. There we go, a little decent look. But again, the figure is so huge, it just sort of takes all the light away. And then as we lead back up into the tail, you can see some more nice creasing going on here in the skin. And if we can get this past the camera to get it over here to take a look at, you can see the tail looks really nice as we lead out the length of the tail. Lots of nice like creases and stuff in the tail, lots of nice skin texture. And then we lead out to a point here at the end of the tail, and it continues to have a really nice mixture of dark and light greens. The underside of the Spinosaurus pretty much just has that same style of detail, but you can see like lots of sort of like skin folding and stuff going on, nice movement shown in the body, and just generally like the structure of the body and the bones of the Spinosaurus. So it does have a pretty cool looking appearance here on the underside as well as the upper side. Very nice looking in both areas. And the Spinosaurus actually looks pretty much the same on this side as it did on the previous side. I didn't really want to take a look at it again the way I did where I was kind of reviewing it up close, because I just kind of wanted to give you a quick gist of how it looks from a distance and show you guys that it's pretty much the same, again, as we saw on the previous side as far as the detailing goes and everything. So very nicely done on both sides, very nicely done overall as far as this Spinosaurus goes. Again, it's definitely not your most up-to-date and most accurate Spinosaurus, but we don't really expect that from the Dinomania line. We just kind of expect very cool, sort of exaggerated dinosaur figures, and that's pretty much exactly what we have with this Spinosaurus, except in the absolute largest possible fashion ever. Now for a size, this is going to be a pretty hefty task. The tail is bent a bit. If the tail were straightened out, this would be a bit longer, but for a length at this point, you are looking at about 33.5 inches or about 85 centimeters for a length on this Spinosaurus, which is just gigantic. For a height, I have mine in kind of a quadrupedal position, so it's not going to be all that high, but it could be a lot higher if it were in a bipedal position, which you can stand it in if that's what you would like, but I feel like the overall appearance of it looks sort of like it's meant to be a quadrupedal position, but you're looking at about 10 inches or about 26 centimeters there to the top of the neck, which is probably the highest point right here. And then to the top of the sail, you are looking at about 15 inches or about 38.5 centimeters, somewhere in that range. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Dinomania Spinosaurus, and you can really tell just what I'm talking about when I say this figure is absolutely huge. This is like kaiju size in comparison to these dinosaur figures and poor little Robert Muldoon down there, but you can see that this Spinosaurus is the most absolutely gigantic figure that I potentially have ever had on my channel. I think it is probably the biggest, honestly, and you should have a pretty good idea of that next to these figures right here. So this Dinomania Spinosaurus is definitely something, that's for sure. I was not prepared at all for how large this figure was. It is just absolutely massive and really quite cool looking overall. I definitely love the paint scheme of the figure. I think it was a great choice. The colors that they've gone with here, very realistic look for the figure and also really nicely applied, honestly. I think the paintwork is probably some of my favorite that I've seen on any of the Dinomania figures so far. A really nice green color scheme that they've gone with on the figure, and again, like I had stated earlier, I really feel like it's a very natural look for the figure and for the animal in general. I think it was a really nice choice to include nice dark and lighter greens, and the way they transition back and forth between each other is really beautiful as well, very lifelike and realistic. And then you have kind of like a reddish area in the throat, which I think is just that little extra bit of flashiness that it could potentially need just to make that head and neck area look pretty flashy. But then you also have that really flashy sail with like the yellow and orangish type of a color that you have up there, which I think also looks really nice and plays off of the greens really well on the body overall. The sculpt, I think, is really nicely done for the most part as far as being a super huge figure like this. I think it is definitely a nice looking sculpt as far as the details go. It could be better, but it's also not that bad either. And personally, I do quite like it. I feel like the head sculpt is the only area that has a bit of an issue as far as sort of having that hook in the jaw in the wrong spot. So there is that one little area that could have definitely been improved, but overall I don't think it's something that's bad enough to take away from the figure or anything like that too much. And considering if you are interested in the Dinomania line, you're coming into the figures not expecting accuracy and kind of expecting like a really cool exaggerated dinosaur, I guess, toy or figure, whatever you want to term this. So you kind of come into this not expecting it to be absolutely picture perfect as far as what we perceive Spinosaurus to look like. But I think this is definitely a really decently done version of like an older version of Spinosaurus minus the incorrect area of the hook in the jaw. And then you also have the really cool sort of glass plastic eye, which I feel like gives this thing just a really nice appearance overall, a good dose of realism, which is nice to see on the figure. And I also love that the way that the feet are positioned, it definitely looks like it is meant to be in a crouching position, like it's fishing or something. So that is also a really cool kind of little added attribute of the figure that I really do like overall on this figure. Again, it has some articulation, but only in the arms. But other than that, there is no articulation, but being that soft, squishy feel, you can still bend it and move it around a bit. So this Spinosaurus is absolutely awesome, if you ask me. Again, an extremely cool looking figure, very impressive for sure when you see it in person. It overall is quite the looker and quite the head turner, I will say that. It's just something that absolutely will grab the attention of anyone that sees it. It is just so huge and so nicely painted. So if you would like to pick this up, I will include a link in the description to where you can do just that. This is the final Dinomania figure that I have to review right now, so hopefully we'll have a chance to take a look at some more in the very near future, because they do have quite a few more that I would love to show you guys. But as of right now, this is the end for Dinomania, again, of the second unboxing of these figures that I've done, so make sure you check out Dinomania, pick up some of their incredibly cool figures. Again, I will include a link straight to this Spinosaurus in the description for you to check out and potentially purchase on their website. And make sure you also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.